Do you know how to prepare handouts that work well? Today, I'm going to give you some tips on how to prepare handouts for your students that will help you in your CELTA lesson. Let's go! Hello exam seekers, I'm Patty and today I'm talking about handouts, how to prepare them. When preparing a lesson plan for the CELTA course, you have to pay attention to many aspects of the lesson. The warm-up, the leading, the presentation of the content, and the students' practice and production. One essential item for the lessons is the students' material. Usually, when you are taking the CELTA course, your students are not exactly your students. They might be from a group that the preparation center formed only for the CELTA course. Therefore, they don't have specific materials. They use handouts that you and the other teachers provide them with. So these handouts must be well prepared. There are many CELTIs, however, who don't really know how to prepare proper handouts. And when it comes to delivering their lesson, they usually lose points for their handouts during the CELTA course. I have never had this problem because I'm very methodical. So today, I'm going to tell you what exactly is a handout and how you should prepare your handout properly. According to Cambridge Dictionary, a handout is a document given to students that contain information about a particular subject. In our case, handouts are pieces of paper containing information about the lesson, the content, or the tasks students will use in class and or after the class. So, how to prepare handouts that work well? Well, let me show you a sample of a handout that I prepared for one of my CELTA lessons. As you can see, it is clean and clear. Moreover, students will be able to know when they used the handout and from which lesson it was taken. Let me tell you about some details to pay attention so that you will be able to prepare handouts similar to mine. First, the size of the paper. This is actually one A4 sheet of paper divided into two parts. It seems small, right? Well, when you're planning a CELTA lesson, your lessons should take no longer than 50 minutes, which means that you have to use your time to give your students a warm-up and or a leading, present the grammar topic if it is a grammar lesson, give them practice and production tasks. Therefore, there shouldn't be many things in your handout. As you can see, I took this exercise from the book Cutting Edge. I got these two exercises and adapted them from the Cutting Edge book. I adapted them to practice task and production task. My students don't need the warm-up, leading, and presentation in this specific handout. So I put only the tasks which they had to write something or they needed a guide to follow in a conversation. Therefore, I have half of an A2 sheet of paper with content for students to use. There are other lessons that require more than half of an A2 sheet of paper. However, if your lesson is like this one, well, half paper is fine. Some people use the whole A4 paper to have their tasks, but it's not necessary, especially if it leads to extra blank areas on the paper. You're wasting paper, don't do that. If your exercises seem to fit in half of an A4 sheet of paper, use a half of the A4 sheet or make it smaller so that it fits well. Unless, of course, you have students who have difficulty in reading and writing in small sheets of paper. Then you should provide them with a bigger or a larger version for those students. Other than that, this size of paper is more than enough. After paying attention to the size of the paper and the amount of paper you're using, then we go to this font size and the size letter. How small should I make my handout? I usually use regular font size from 11 to 14, depending on the title and the subtitles I use. Well, take a look. As you can see, I used Calibri, which is a good font to read in size 11. Students can read and there is still plenty of space to write. Meanwhile, the description of the exercise is a bit bigger, a bit larger from 13 to 14 to differentiate from the tasks themselves. Now, let's analyze part by part of the heading. To call people's attention, I made it a little different from everything else. First, grammar lesson. I think it is nice to let the students know what type of lesson they are having. If it is a listening lesson, a reading lesson, and etc. Moreover, it is clear for you and for your tutor the lesson you're teaching. I also put it in a different font type to call everyone's attention and make it different. The second is the second conditional. This was a grammar lesson, but what was the subject of the lesson? Again, I make sure to put this in my handout so that the students know what they are studying. Sometimes the students do not know or they forget along the way. Also, when they look for this handout in the future, they will be able to identify it quickly. Third, adapted from cutting edge. This is an important aspect of your lesson. You must always write where you took the exercise from. If you did it yourself or if you took it from your creativeness, then write your name. The last is the date, January 26, 2015. I also find it interesting that the students have the date on their pieces of paper. If you don't put it there, it is most likely that the students won't put it there either. It is a way to make them organized. Your handouts and the students. Here is another sample of a handout. Again, you can see that I put two handouts in one A4 sheet. This was a kids lesson based on a video, different from the other activity, which was a grammar lesson for adults. Even though they are completely different lessons and tasks, you can find the same aspects. I specified it is a video lesson with the name of the video watched. I put my name signing the activity, I put the date, and I put a different type of font and a different size of font. Since this was a lesson for young learners, I wrote all the words in capital letters. The last topic is the reference. Where did you take your material from? Did you do it by yourself or did you take it and adapt from a course book? Did you take the pictures from the internet or did somebody make them for you? An important aspect of your handouts is telling where the material used, pictures, content, was taken from, as I did in the samples I showed you. When I put adapted from cutting edge or I wrote my name in the activity, that meant that I took from cutting edge and I did it by myself. For the pictures, the food vocabulary, I didn't feel the need to write where I took each of the pictures from. However, you should put them too. These pictures were all taken from Google Images. However, if you are using a larger image, if your activity focuses on this activity, this is the main topic of your lesson, I advise you to write where you took it from in a way that to provide the reference, but it is not highlighted. It's not that big, so it is highlighted and disturb the lesson. like in this sample? Well, the suggestions I described are great pieces of advice that I used for my own handouts. If you follow these steps, you won't have problems when preparing your handouts. Was it all clear? I hope I have helped you guys to prepare better handouts and earn some points in your CELTA course. But keep this in mind, this model is not only good for your CELTA lesson, but for all of your lessons. This is for life, for a teacher's life. Do you feel ready to prepare any handouts now? Write in the comments. Well, I hope that this content was useful for you, and if you want more content like this one, make sure you subscribe to this channel. And also don't forget to like this video and share with the others so that more and more people can get this content. Okay, well, that's it for today. Thanks for watching me and see you next time. Bye bye. Remember, knowledge is never enough. Bye bye. Oh my god, can you hear that? It's raining a lot. I hope it didn't affect the audio. Oh.